first question I have for you, what do you think is LinkedIn's killer application? What is the thing that sets it apart?
I think perhaps more than anything else, it's one's professional identity. So in that regard, I'd say the profile and the ability to share with the world your experiences, your skills, perhaps most importantly, your aspirations. And the more relevant and the fresher that content, the more likely it is to get picked up by some of the major search engines, which means when people are searching for your name or people like you, you're going to show up at the top of the results. And that's a pretty valuable thing, to be able to carve out a piece of digital real estate like that and allow for opportunities to accrue to you.
So do you think of LinkedIn as more of a platform than a website?
I definitely think of LinkedIn as a platform. I think it's a platform in the sense that it enables all kinds of other activities, products, and services to take place. So, I think ultimately LinkedIn is about the tools to manage your career more effectively and the insights to be great at the job you're already in. And that's a pretty broad cross-section of functionality. And ultimately, I think we're in a position to leverage this platform at scale to connect talent with opportunity in ways that were never possible before, and subsequently transform the way people work.
So I know LinkedIn acquires an enormous amount of data, most of it's coming from the users. And I also know that you are on the cutting edge of data science, for example. So how are you using that data? How is it manifesting back through the site, and what types of products are you developing with it?
Yeah, the ability to leverage the data, the information, the knowledge flowing through the network is one of our highest priorities, because increasingly I think most would agree that these emerging social platforms facilitate sharing. And as a result, you get people sharing information, knowledge, opinions, and ideas at unprecedented levels. So each of us essentially have access to this never-ending stream of content. And so for us, one of our primary objectives is, how do we create as much relevancy from that stream as possible? How do we extract as much of the signal from the stream as possible? And very thankfully, we've been able to build a world-class team of data scientists making that happen. And so a few examples: we have over 1 million active company profiles on LinkedIn. And the information flowing through these company profiles is unique, and you can't find it anywhere else, because it starts with updating one's profile, and then that propagates through the network. So you can see for any given company who just joined, who just left, who's been promoted, what jobs are available. And increasingly, companies are now providing the feed of their products and services, enabling other professionals to share their recommendations. We can also see, for example, the composition of an employee base at a particular company, and you can break that down by functional area. So recently, there was a lot of talk about HP and whether or not their margin expansion came at the expense of cutting R&D. And you can go on to their company profile on LinkedIn and actually look at the rate of their R&D employee growth versus the rest of the companies in their segment.
Right.
And that's just one little example of what's possible.
So that's looking at the data that's come in. Can the data actually be used, or are we getting to a point where it can almost become predictive? Where I can say, not that I'm looking for a job, but where should I work, or where should somebody I know work?
If you happen to be looking for a
job. Right, theoretically.
Theoretically. So, great question. And we recently rolled out a product to do just that. We call it Career Explorer. And the initial version of Career Explorer was designed for one of our fastest growing segments, and that's recent college grads. So a recent college grad, a senior in school, can come onto LinkedIn and let us know their major, their expected degree, and the industry they would like to most work in. And then leveraging the 85 million members that have gone before that person, we can look at the career paths taken by those individuals. And we can recommend a career path as long as you're telling us your ultimate dream job. But where the real power comes in is not just looking at that path and looking at the average tenure along the way for each of those jobs, average salary, et cetera. But it's in knowing who in your network has held those specific roles and titles, and putting you in touch with them, first degree, second degree, third degree, so they can provide you some insight and guidance as to how they made it happen. And additionally, looking at the companies most likely to be hiring for exactly those roles.
Interesting. So the last question I had for you, and broadening the scope a little bit, what do you think are going to be the real drivers of the internet economy over the next 2 years or so?
Well, I think, and certainly this is informed to some extent by working at LinkedIn, but I think the economy generally is going to be increasingly driven by talent. You know, I think the world has evolved. If you look back in history, we've moved from an agrarian age to the Industrial Revolution, followed by an information age, arguably a meta-information age. And I think increasingly we're transitioning into a talent economy, where it's not just about the information you know, but about who you know and the information they possess. information knowledge is now evolving so quickly. I think it's equally, if not more important, to have access and be connected to the people who possess the knowledge you most need to get your job done. And so I think increasingly talent is going to be driving where value gets created.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.